Thank you, Cassette, and hello, everybody, and welcome. It's a chilly day in November, and I'm so happy to be spending lunch with so many colleagues from across the province. Before we get started, my name is Mabyn Grinde, and I am one of the faculty development coordinators here at Lakeland College. And I just want to give a shout out to these ladies on your screen today. Much of what I'm going to share with you today, I'm able to share because I have colleagues like these four women who are so curious about play and who are always willing to learn with me, to incorporate play into their classrooms, and to lead play right alongside of me. So Stacy Haberly, Michelle Beal, Adrienne LeVay, and Corrine Vandenberg are four fantastic colleagues. And a lot of the things that we're going to share and that you're going to see today are work that I've done alongside these ladies, so thank you. I'm joining you today from the heart of Treaty 6 territory on our Vermilion campus. This land acknowledgement was co-created with local knowledge keepers, elders, and some of our Indigenous Student Council a few years ago. We acknowledge that the land we gather on is the traditional homeland, hunting, and ceremonial gathering places of many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit. The Plains Cree, Woodland Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux people have practiced their culture and languages on Treaty 6 and Métis Region 2. They were the original caretakers of this land. Many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people continue to call this land home today. We acknowledge the history we have created together on this land and are thankful for the opportunity to walk together side by side in friendship, learning from our past, and promoting positive relationships in the present and the future. I so appreciate this final line of our land acknowledgement here at Lakeland around this shared history and friendship and opportunity. And as we talk about play today, I'd also like to acknowledge two of my elders, Alcina White and Clifford Cardinal from Saddle Lake First Nation, who have both taught me a lot about the healing power of play. And so I hope to share some of that with you today as well. So we're going to start, and we have a very short agenda today, and I hope we get through it. Those of you that know me know that I like to talk, so I was warning Cossette that I might be a little rushed, but I only have three main goals today, and that is to play. So we're going to do some play together. Normally, I would love to do this session face-to-face with people, but we're going to talk about face-to-face strategies and do a few online strategies. I want to explore a little bit about the why behind play. I sometimes think there's some stigmatization, some negative stigmatization around play, especially in higher ed. And so I want to unpack that just a bit and share some of the highlights of the research that really supports the importance of play in a higher ed setting. And then lastly, I want to give us some time to share what you're doing in your settings with play. I know that there's a lot of really, really good things happening in institutions across Alberta. And so I want to learn from you and steal some of your good ideas too. You'll also notice throughout this presentation, there'll be a variety of images on the slides. And these are all colleagues here at Lakeland College who were engaging in a variety of play sessions that I've hosted over the last year. And so if some of them are with us today, thank you for being the highlights of our slides. So this was one of our colleagues, Leanne, and she was teaching us how to floss at new faculty orientation, which was great. Okay, so to start with, our very first task is I want to engage and jump right in with some play. So in the, oh yes, B says fantastic memory. Thanks, B. In the chat, and Anita, maybe you could just repost those if there's people joining late, but in the chat, the first link that I shared was one called Neil Fun, Perfect Circle. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to click on that link in the chat. And I'm going to set my timer on my clock, and I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute. And I want you to see the highest score that you can get. And I'm going to ask the group to report back. I would also really encourage you, if you're comfortable and able to do so, to turn on your camera, because part of the fun and joy of play is seeing each other's facial expressions and our frustration as we're doing this. So turn on your camera. Open the link to Can You Draw a Perfect Circle? I'm going to start my timer. And yeah, we're going to give ourselves a minute to try to see the highest score in the perfect timer. Are there any questions? Okay, let's go. You'll notice as you're going also that if you go too slow, it ants you out. if you go too fast or if you're too close to the dot in the center. Oh, I'm seeing some very concentrating faces. This looks good. Ah, oh, I'm seeing maybe, I don't know if that was a shout of despair or glory. This is great. Okay, you have 15 seconds. Try to beat your high score, everybody. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, hands off your clickers. All right, so in the chat, or if you'd like to grab the mic, let's hear some celebration. Who's got the highest score in the group today? Who's our best circle drawing colleague across the province? What? I'm seeing 96s and 93s. This is amazing. Good work, everybody. Oh, I also see some claims of my circle was the best. Yep, this is good. This is good. Okay. All right. I think we have time for one more. So if you go back up into your chat, or Anita, maybe if you can grab that second one called Flappy Bird, if you can try that, this is the next one. So I'm increasing level of difficulty here, just so you're all aware and prepared. So when you open the Flappy Bird link, this is how it works. Thanks, Anita. So you have to click on it to start, and then you have to use your space bar or your left mouse button, and you have to try to keep the bird between the two poles. I wasted 15 minutes of my life yesterday evening doing this, and I didn't even get a score of 1. So good luck to you all. We will also report back scores. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds to try this one, okay? So are we ready? Everybody's in? Okay, 30 seconds, here we go. Try to keep that poor little Flappy Bird alive. Oh, I'm seeing some head shakes. Ryan, are you winning, man? Have you got him through the pipe once? Nope. I see lots of concentrating faces. This is a serious endeavor, Flappy Bird. Okay, we have 5 seconds left. Try to get him through the pipe once. We need a score of 1 from at least. I know the brains in this room today, everybody. We have to at least have 1. Okay, and hands off the clicker. All right, scores in the chat, please. Let's see. Somebody got 1. Yay, Leah. Izzy got 2. Oh, wow, you guys are amazing. I'm seeing 3s popping up. This is fantastic. Good job, everybody. You're much more skilled at this than I am. That's great. Okay, so why are we doing this? It's fun sometimes just to have fun and laugh. It's November, the days are short, it's cold outside, not everybody has their Christmas lights up to make us happy. And I think that sometimes play just for play's sake is why we need to play in learning spaces. So a lot of the resources that I'm going to be sharing today, you're going to see the name Forbes and Thomas at the bottom of the screen. And that's because this is a group, and I'm going to talk about them more in a minute, but Professors at Play is the name of this organization. And they're amazing. So if any of this conversation around play is resonating with you today, this is who we need. This is who you need to start your reading with, I think. And they talk about these sorts of fun tasks just for the sake of fun. It's these easy to learn, but like high skill, really low stakes kind of play opportunities, such as Flappy Bird and the Draw the Perfect Circle. So it gives you a minute to pause, to breathe, to get settled in a new space, and to connect with each other in a fun way that really has no stakes. So why play? During the pandemic, as I mentioned, I came across this group of professors at Play, and they're led by Lisa Forbes, Dr. Lisa Forbes, and Dr. David Thomas. And while I felt like I was drowning, navigating the unknown and these often kind of like isolated waters of emergency online teaching, we were desperately searching for strategies. I had people emailing me and teamsing me every day asking for ways to help re-engage their students because they really felt disconnected from their learners. There was a great article in the spring of 2022, and I've linked it in my notes if you want it, by Beth McMurtry in the Chronicle of Higher Ed, and she called this the silent epidemic of student disconnection. And I'm not sure it's disappeared. This is still a topic that we talk a lot about today, at least at Lakeland, and I'm sure this is a topic of conversation at your institutions as well. So while all of this was happening with the pandemic, professors at Play were talking about the underutilized power of play in higher ed. And it felt so refreshing. It felt so hopeful. So I started to follow them on social media. I read absolutely everything that they had published, which is all free. By the way, it's free downloads. You can just download it or order a paper copy from Amazon. But they were talking and really challenging this narrative that play was for kids. They were talking that there really isn't a difference. When we look at effective pedagogy, there's no difference between playing with kids and playing with adults, with some considerations on contextual differences. And they also talked a lot about play being vital for learning and an essential medium for learning. And all of this really spoke to me. It resonated with me. I thought, yeah, I know this. I have done this kind of work my whole career in a variety of different educational settings. And it really spoke to me. And so I wanted to learn more. So this is a whole bunch of research in a nutshell. And this is the only kind of research piece, but I really wanted to share some of the highlights as why play with you so that you understand that play just isn't for play's sake, that there's really a purpose to including it in our teaching and learning spaces. So number one, play supports effective learning through salient experiences. Saliency is a trigger for developing new neural pathways, neuroplasticity, and new neural pathways is the biological basis of learning. I think most of us accept that. Play creates emotional and novel experiences, which makes them salient. Humor, for example, has been referred to as the juggernaut of learning, and it triggers the same reward systems as things such as food and sex and exercise. Our human brains like dopamine and endorphins, and play does this for us in learning settings. Number two, play supports learning through creating facilitative social group dynamics. So play increases social bonding and can lead to a sense of connection, community, and trust among students and the instructor. This is described as effective learning, and it takes place in an active process within a social context. Play is what creates that sense of community and connection, which arguably creates a ripe environment for valuable and deep learning. This leads to better instructor-student relationships, and it leads to better student attendance and buy-in in our courses as well. Number three, play supports learning by igniting students' intrinsic motivation, which in turn increases interest and enjoyment in the learning process. And when students are more interested and engaged, they are more curious and more intrigued with the material. To put it simply, play makes your students want to learn, and that's half of the battle. Number four, play supports learning by promoting mental health. And I think this is such an important topic. There's so much discourse still around mental health in our students. I know that our caseloads have shifted greatly in the last 4 years and continue to do so. And there's some interesting research from just before the pandemic, but they talk about education often being viewed as a serious endeavor, and positive emotions within students aren't normally pursued or valued. So that was kind of their take on higher ed. However, students' emotions can have a big impact on their success because positive emotions and lower level of stress improves focus and establishes better brain functioning. And I think when I think back to the Dan Siegel hand model, this is really, we talk a lot about this with faculty here. We talk about calm, safe brains or learning brains. And if you don't have that calm, safe brain with your lid on, that no learning is actually taking place. And so this is what this is really talking to. Magnuson and Ross in the spring of 23 said that adolescents and youth and adults are in epidemic levels of mental distress. Mental illness is increasing faster than physical illness, increasing absenteeism at school and work, collective despair, and increasing lack of hope, leading to despair, drug and alcohol overdose, and other sorts of physical addictions. So play brings joy, it brings relaxation, it brings liberation, focus, and it creates a safe and engaged learning environment. We often say, I think in our work, that we include faculty or we encourage faculty to include self-care in their practice. And I think that play offers an opportunity to do that. We can provide self-care for ourselves and we can model it for our students when we prioritize and say creating community, creating connection, and creating space in our classroom is important. Okay, so benefits of play. Again, I want to highlight some of our Lakeland College faculty in the images here, having some fun playing. And as I mentioned before, one of the reasons why I'm able to talk about play as a topic is because I have so many great colleagues here who engage with it all of the time. So just this fall, I have helped classroom instructors do some gamification challenges such as Kahoot and Jeopardy, which you might know. I also have an animal health tech instructor right now who's doing a Olympic style review. So it's a huge course on parasites in her program, and she's setting up like Olympic events as review events for it. So we have all these creative minds that are thinking of interesting ways to engage students in the learning of their course content. Last year, though, I want to highlight a little bit about a project that Dr. Adrienne LeVay and I did together. So Adrienne taught in our Bachelor of Agricultural Tech program, or our BAT program here at the college. It's a fairly new program. We're in year 4 of it right now. And she came to me with this identified soft skill gap. So industry was saying to us as feedback on this program that our students still had a gap in these soft skills, or they call them essential skills. So these are things like communicative, collaborative, critical, creative thinking, those sorts of things. And so Adrienne came and we talked a lot about how do we actually get students to do that? How do we teach that? How do we create places in a classroom setting that allow them to practice those kind of skills in safe ways and in scaffolded ways that enable them to practice in really low stakes games like the Flappy Bird game, but that are actually building those requisite skills for the things that they're going to need to do in real world problem solving complex ways out in industry. And so Adrienne had this idea and she ran with it, and it was pretty cool. She created Taskmaster Mondays. So this was in a course called Innovative Leadership. And she had a 3-hour lab block with this group every Monday afternoon. And so she started doing Taskmasters. And I don't know if any of you know Taskmasters. It's a reality television show from the UK, but she based it on that. And they do these absolutely outlandish things. And that's what she started doing in the afternoons. So I want to, as I'm reading through some of these, I'm also going to be scrolling the pictures on this slide. And these are ag students. And I don't know if any of you have experience with agriculture students in a small rural campus in Alberta, but these are not students that are jumping up and down to do drama type things, to think outside of the box sometimes, to challenge perceptions and do kind of outlandish, crazy things. And so the fact, I want you to pay attention to the tractors in the background, but the things that these students were doing. And the coolest part about this was that these students really got it. So she had all of these different challenges. It was very complex. There was point systems and teams and everything. She had this massively scheduled thing. We did a presentation about this at ASIFA last year. So if you're interested in more detail on this Taskmasters, the lab portion of a leadership course, I can talk to you more about that later. But look at what the students said about this. It just astounds me. Increased self-awareness. So these are third-year undergrad students, and these are the kind of feedback that they're giving Adrienne and I about what they enjoyed about this class. Enjoyment, pleasure, fun, laughter. They talked a lot about how they felt really stressed because these are students who are in applied degree programs. So they go from being a college student and over the summer, they turn into a third-year undergrad student. And the expectations were a little bit different, and some of them were really struggling with that. So the fact that this was a space where they could come and have fun and just laugh and lighten up, that was something that we heard a lot from them. Being challenged to use their brains in new ways. And again, this is that lateral thinking, that critical, creative, collaborative, outside of the box thinking, the kind of real world problem solvers that industry is asking us to present and to put out into industry from our programming, right? So we felt like we were hitting the bar when we were doing that. They talked about being pushed out of their comfort zones. So we asked them to do things that they didn't want to do sometimes. And the interesting thing about that is that we always gave students the option to not engage. We always said, if you're not comfortable doing this, you don't have to. With the exception of one student on one day, every single student in this program engaged in every ridiculous challenge she gave them every single week. So when we talk about student buy-in and student engagement, I think we were also hitting the mark there. The students actually talked to us in some of their reflections about understanding what was meant by these essential skills or transferable skills. They felt like in an interview now, they could actually take the examples that they had done in these labs, in this challenge kind of gamification lab, and they could actually use those to talk about how they were creative thinkers or out of the box thinkers. They talked about their enhanced creativity, about how they looked at problems differently and thought about solving problems in different and new ways. The class morale was really increased, and we noticed this quite early on. This was a class that hadn't always meshed really well, and they really were meshing well by midway through this second semester when they were having this course every day, or once a week, sorry. I really liked this one, and we unpacked this one a bit with some of the students, but they talked about thinking differently and seeing others differently. So there's also an interesting dynamic in this program where you have crop students and beef production students. And even though we think about them as both ag students, they really identify as two separate groups. And so there was some conversation and some bringing together of those two groups too, which was great. And I want to just highlight this last picture that you see on your slide right now. Again, I don't know if you fully appreciate the context, but this is a group of, 20, 22-year-old ag students at our college. And this one student at the front of the room is reading them a bedtime story that he has written and illustrated. And look at how engaged they are. There aren't students fooling around. There aren't students on their phones. We never had to ask a student to put their phone away, except for the student that was doing the record keeping. We engaged students in the record keeping and timing and points kind of collection during these labs too. So all of these outcomes from embedding play in really purposeful ways. And so we did these really kind of outlandish things, but Adrian and Adrian spent a lot of time. She designed very carefully. We had really deep reflective and metacognitive processes and pieces in place that the students wrapped around as they went through this. This wasn't just a show up on Monday afternoon and do something fun and leave. There was a lot of reflection and connecting to course concepts and program concepts that we embedded and wove throughout these sorts of Monday afternoon activities. So, when you buy a new car and you're driving down the road and you feel like everybody you see on the road has the exact same new car that you just bought. And I don't actually think that is happening. I think it's just the perception and the noticing, right? When you're noticing things more. And so it's just funny how the world works that way and how everything seems a little bit connected. So I had been doing this work kind of purposefully embedding play and talking to people about play for probably the last 18 months. And Adrian and I were doing this presentation at the ASIFA conference in May of 2024. And unbeknownst to us, the keynote speaker, kind of the introductory speaker, and one of the themes through ASIFA last year was improv and play and joy and laughter. So these were the keynote speakers' cards. I thought they were brilliant. That's why I took a picture of them. But these were their business cards that they had laying out on the table, and you put your fingers through them to make the legs. So this happened at ASIFA. All of a sudden, so we were doing this work and talking about this. Then we go into this other arena and we're talking about this. And we were like, okay, maybe this is the right thing. This feels like the right thing. We need this space and this time to laugh. And then a second place where play really came up last year was we do an annual learning days at Lakeland in May of every year. And it's kind of like a PD day that happens on both campuses. And we decided to include two kind of fun actives. So instead of like doing a very serious morning keynote and then jumping right into a session at 9 o'clock, we decided that we were going to leave an hour and a half in the morning to just play and connect. So this learning time is a little bit unique in that it's not just faculty, it's faculty and staff. So we had people from all of the departments, all of the different teams across two campuses coming together to do this work. So on the first morning, I designed a campus-wide scavenger hunt with the tool called Goose Chase. And again, I've linked all of this at the end of the presentation, and so you can go and look them up. But Goose Chase is kind of an online interactive like a scavenger hunt. It's a scavenger hunt piece. And so I created this scavenger hunt, and I just want to share with you a highlight reel of some of the scavenger hunt topics that they had to do. So I made them like puzzles. So for example, one of the clues was "This ain't Texas," right? With a nod to the Beyonce song. They had to figure out that you needed to go and take a picture. So the team had to go and take pictures at all these different places. And then we made a reel of them and we played the reel for everybody when they came back into the room. It was really fun. And I want you to also just note that these aren't all faculty. Some of them are faculty, some of them are student services support upstairs. We have some finance people in here, and we have everybody from like the hardcore mechanic trades instructors to university transfer profs and everybody in between. So I don't want you to just think that this is like the humanities instructors who like this stuff. This was everybody engaging in this. So I will just share with you the highlight reel of our goose chase for May. So I don't know, that was quick, but I hope you saw some of the creativity and just the genuine smiles and fun. And the cool thing about Goose Chase too is that I had created this whole thing. So everybody comes into the room, they make their teams, the leader signs in on their phone, and then they run off to try to get the things. But I could see I could see the pictures coming in from all over campus as people were submitting them. And I didn't have enough. I had misjudged the time it was going to take people to do it. So I started adding challenges on the fly, which was really cool. Because then people were texting me, they're like, "What? You can't do that." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm the boss. I can do whatever I want." And so they were running and they were having fun, and then videos weren't working. And then when everybody came back to the room, we put the leaderboard where you can see all the pictures up on a big screen in the room. And I went through it and we had so much fun. We just arbitrarily docked or gave people bonus. So I was like, Matt Newman with the flowers in his hair. I was like, "You look great, 100 extra bonus points." And people are like, "I give 100 extra bonus points." And we deducted points if we couldn't see people's faces or we thought it wasn't a good enough example. So we just had so much fun, and we belly laughed. That entire team of 40 people belly laughed, and it was fun, and it was nice, and it was such a good way to start the day of learning together, to have that kind of fun together. So we did fun things at our May Learning Days. And then at new faculty orientation, which is something that I also facilitate here. And we had a great group this year. We had like 23 new faculty. And again, everybody from trades, hair and esthetician, university transfer, human services, ag. We had the whole mix of people. And we incorporated some play with them this year too. And so I want you to pay attention in this little clip to people's faces, to the energy in the room. We actually had people coming out of offices to see what we were doing. So we were doing this in an open space in one of our buildings, and people were coming out and being like, "What are you doing? Why are you being so loud? Why is there so much laughter?" Right? This isn't the typical sort of thing that we see at like workshops at work. So yeah, so this is some of our new faculty from August of 2024 engaging in some play. So for those of you that don't know, that's a rock, paper, scissors championship battle. And I've seen that done in rooms of up to like 500 people in a gymnasium before. And so you pair off in twos, you rock, paper, scissors, whoever loses becomes the cheerleader for the person that won. You go find another group, and it's like mob tag kind of until you're down to two people. And everybody's cheering and chanting the name of the two people that are going. And so again, it seems silly, but it builds so much community. And I don't know whether it was the group of new faculty that we had this year or that we started our week off. We spent an entire morning doing play with them. And this is one of the most connected groups of new faculty. Like, they have a chat space and they chat and they connect constantly. And I just can't help if wondering if part of that isn't because we held that time for them to really connect as a group this year as new instructors on campus. So again, just some ideas to share with you, but lots of fun was had. Oh, sorry. Although the screeching is great, the cheering is great. I shared this slide as just an aside. So this is just a snippet of our registration numbers from May Learning Days. And I just wanted to share this though too, because those of you that know me know that I'm an extrovert. I like play and I like this active kind of fun. But I think it's also really important to remember that we have people that sometimes need, and me as well sometimes need this, but I need that quiet space instead. So I originally just had 2 play events planned for both days. And then I did some reflecting and thought, no, maybe we need to have a quiet option for people too. So we offered an active option and a quiet option for morning connections, and we called them both a morning connecting event. And you look at the statistics and it's almost a perfect 50-50 for the people that registered. 50 wanted active and 50 wanted quiet. So I just share that as a reminder that both are equally important, I think, and that holding space for both of those sorts of things and learning is important too. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking. And I've shared a Padlet. So Anita, maybe if I can just get you to grab that Padlet link again. Padlet is a tool I'm sure that you're all very familiar with by now. I don't know if any of you have played with Padlet's new AI features, but this Padlet was created with Padlet AI. So I put in my prompt, I said what I wanted, I changed some of the images, but this in, under a minute is what Padlet spit me out as playful teaching and learning class activities for higher ed. And some of them are ones I've legitimately done with people or used myself. So what I would like to do is I would like to just give us about 5 minutes as a group to go on and start engaging with this Padlet a little bit. I've enabled the like function and the comment function at the bottom of them. So if you see an idea that you like and you've done something similar but with a bit of a twist, please leave a comment underneath it. And if you have a brand new idea, please add that. There's a plus button at the bottom of the screen, at the bottom of the right-hand screen. And if you plus that, it'll open up a new post on Padlet and enable you to start adding your ideas. I will leave this Padlet, this link, and I will leave this Padlet up. And it can be a place that when you're feeling like you need a new idea, perhaps you can go back to it and borrow each other's good ideas. So I will give us a few minutes to go on and take a read through there, like some ideas that you see, and add some of your own, please, if you're doing some of your own really playful pedagogy moves in your own spaces. Okay, we just have like 3 minutes left, and I just want to share, this is the last fun thing I wanted to share you with. If you haven't discovered Suno AI yet, I want you to look it up. The reference is at the end. I'm just going to show you this QR code is a link to the entire presentation. So I will leave that there for a second if you would like to take a picture of it. And we will also share, we can send out everything I create. I always create free to share. These are the 2 Professor playbooks that I was talking about that are really, really worth a read if play is something that you're interested in pursuing. And this is a link of all the different resources that we talked about today. So if you take a picture of this QR code, we will also share out the link to the PowerPoint or to the slide deck. You can grab whatever you'd like from there. I'm the only Mabyn around, so Mabyn Grinde and my email address also. If you want to get a hold of me to continue this conversation after today, I welcome that. So the last thing I want to share with you is our song. So I made us a theme song outro cassette for today for Edna on a tool called Suno AI. So I created some lyrics with the help of ChatGPT and Suno AI. And yeah, so this is the Edna outro theme song for November 20th. Thanks so much, everybody. You can all bop around to it.
Every single day in Alberta skies we find our way, supporting minds to grow and lead with a spark they all need. From lecture halls.
I'll leave it there. You can go listen to, I did a country version on top and a pop version on the bottom with different lyrics. So you can take a look at those. But I think there's so much potential here with this tool, especially for doing like online courses, for doing you know, when you do your like welcome to the course and you're supposed to make a little video to introduce yourself. If that was me, I'd be making a song to introduce myself to my colleagues. So I leave that as just another tool in your toolkit today. And my time is up. So thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to Cosette and Anita. And I look forward to connecting with some of you to talk more about play later.